Do your cats not get along, or do you have a really territorial cat? I have a tool to help you address that. I'm going to teach you how to play a pattern game with your cat called Voluntary Sharing. It's originally from Control Unleashed by Leslie McDevitt and just requires that your cat is already trained to do a behavior very reliably on a cue. If you need a primer on training cats, my video on clicker training is a good place to start, and then come back to this video. Behaviors like high five or targeting work really well for this pattern game. Theoretically, you can use any other behavior, pretty much. The pattern game is played with another cat, dog, person, capybara, or honestly, whatever animal it is that your cat is struggling to get along with. To get started, your cat might require a little bit of practice to get them into the pattern of the pattern game. Some cats are fine skipping this step, but if your cat is particularly reactive to food or has a history of very strong aggressive behaviors, you want to start with this step. If you skip it initially, you can come back to it later if you run into problems, so don't be afraid to go backwards a bit. I'm going to show you each step using an animation, and then I'll give you a real-life example of playing the game with both of my dudes. To start, grab treats, a clicker if you're using one, and a jar or bowl. Sit somewhere comfortable with your cat and set up the jar or bowl off to the side where your cat can see it but not easily get into it. Cue your cat to do the target behavior, and when they do it, use your clicker or say a marker word like, "Great, seems normal so far, right?" Well, now we're going to break one of the rules of clicker training. Kind of. Normally, you always give your cat a treat after you click, even if you click for the wrong thing. For the first part of voluntary sharing, you click when your cat does the target behavior, and then you put a treat in the bowl first. Your cat gets a treat after you've already put the treat in the jar or bowl. This part is really important. You do not give your cat the treat that you put in the jar or bowl. It stays in there. You are helping your cat learn that if they wait, snacks or good things come their way, even if someone else gets something first. In this case, the jar counts as a someone. It's a very humanoid jar. You then repeat that for a couple more repetitions. Cat does the target behavior, click, a treat goes in the bowl or jar, your cat gets a treat. When you're done, the cat doesn't get the treats in the jar or bowl. You can put them back into their container later so then you can actually use them. Now you might be thinking, Joey, my cat only likes the most magical substance on earth, churu. How do I do this step with them? Fake it. Honestly, sometimes when you don't know what to do, you just fake it. Churu does work a little bit better when you are actually playing the main part of the game and doing this live. Before we do that, let me quickly show you how this works with my cats so you can see it in action with real cats. With your cat prepared, it's time to actually play the game. The exact setup for this will depend on who you are playing voluntary sharing with. If you're using this for a cat or dog, you might want to start with a gate between them, especially if it's part of an introduction between two cats. If you're doing this as part of a cat introduction, this is definitely something to try way later in the process. If you're doing this with another person, grab some M&Ms or something that they like. The person gets the human snacks, which they absolutely can eat the candy or M&M or whatever. I suppose that they could eat cat snacks if you were to hand them a temptation or a churu, but I wouldn't. Those are for cats. And the cat gets the cat snacks. You won't need the jar or bowl for this step. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Get set up and cue your cat to do the behavior. Click and then give a treat to the other cat, dog, person, or whoever first. Your cat then gets the treat that they earned. This is your new pattern. The order is important because you want your cat to understand that the other cat getting the treat signals that they get a treat. So ideally, you'd have a slight delay between the other cat giving a treat and the cat that did the behavior getting the treat. Because you marked the behavior with a clicker, you do have a bit of time to get your cat to get the treat because they'll make a connection between the treat and the behavior. If you have a second person around helping with this, it's usually a better idea that one person gives out the treats so the cat understands that there will be a delay before they get a treat, and it will be totally okay. Don't switch who gives the cat a treat. The predictability and pattern helps reduce the stress, and if you did the first part, it even helps cats with bigger feelings about food understand what is going to happen. Let's see voluntary sharing in action. Now that you know how to play voluntary sharing, you can add it to your cats' training regime. This pattern game can be super helpful, but for some cats, it's not a great idea. If your cat has too strong of a reaction, or they just really struggle with it, try something else or work with a professional to figure out what to do instead. And remember, if you are doing this during an introduction, the real benefit is the pattern and the pattern game, not necessarily the treats. So don't be tempted to become a treat vending machine. If you've given voluntary sharing a try and are a subscriber or a member of my channel, I'd love to hear from you about your experiences with it. Leave me a comment and let me know how it goes. Now get out there and teach your cat to share.